minutes, and you'll be on the freeway, and you'll need to downshift to avoid a collision, but you won't have a clutch to do it with. Oh, come on, it's just it wouldn't be like right there if it wasn't okay to rest my foot on. Do you know what? That was an expensive mistake. That was a very expensive mistake. And yeah, my insurance company paid for it, but then my rates went up because I just wouldn't listen. But my God, I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? When do we grow out of that? When do we start going, I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. We don't listen to the truth of God coming from a man. We don't. We simply don't. Well, that's not very nice to say, and you're saying it to the people who love you and support you and listen to you for hours. If it applies, it applies. If you're above what I'm saying, enjoy and pray for the rest of us that are definitely underneath what I'm saying. Because God said, you won't listen to me, so I'll give you a man. And you insist on having a man that's not the prophet that I gave you. You don't want a prophet. You don't want me. You don't want a prophet. You want a king. And you're going to have a king, and he's going to be a jerk. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't listen to him, you're going to be punished.
What about a woman?
Because you won't listen to him. What?
What about a woman?
Oh my gosh. Do you realize how far women down are on the food chain at this point? I don't think so. I don't think so. Finally you laughed at one of my jokes tonight. He's like, oh, this is going to get good. Are those horns? No, seriously. And a woman did judge.
I met a Rabbi Lisa, in fact, that was, Rabbi Lisa.
Yeah?
I met her, and she was very knowledgeable, and she was a woman.
I have a question for you. Is this your show?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I'm just going to give you I'm going to do a hassle a little bit. And me.
Okay.
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 All right.
Anything else?
No.
Nope.
Your turn.
Nope. That was funny. When I say man, I mean human. I don't mean, I'm not talking about plumbing. Do I need to clarify everything?
No,
you want a man or a woman? You want, how long that would take? Besides, I'm saying how stupid everyone is, and the man's stupider. All right.
Okay, I'll go with that.
How do I get the last word and finish a sermon at the same time?
Put the camera on her.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Heckler, stage right. All right. Security. Well, I don't know. Derail me and then wonder why I look derailed. I don't know. We have constantly rejected the voice of God in our lives. We have rejected the voice of God's prophets in our lives. And we have listened to the advice of fools. The advice of fools. We go around and we find the person who's going to give us the answer we want. That's how we find our counselors. That's how all of us do. We all do that. When I have a problem, I go, who do I want to call with my problem? Well, obviously the answer is, who's going to tell me what I want to hear? And you're shaking your head, but the game is still the game. When you go, who's going to tell me what I don't want to hear? You're still calling someone who's going to tell you what you want to hear. You're just not going to like it. We have to be a people that know how to find the voice of God in our lives. But he said, if you're going to be the kind of people that don't, and you're going to be the kind of people that run to who knows who for your advice, your self-help books, your phony churches, or your telephone psychics. He says, well, so be it. But you better do what they say, or you're going to have me to contend with. So you're telling me I get bad advice, I get bad leadership, I get bad guidance, and I have to follow it, even though it's contrary to your word, or you're going to pass judgment You're going to make a plague come upon me? Well, yeah. Well, that doesn't seem right. Well, of course, because basically you're saying, now that I find out how much trouble I got myself into, now I'm going to listen to him. Well, no. No, we're not going to play that. You listen to me before the fact and show me the respect that's due me as being God, or you be the person who shows respect and obedience to your sin. Wow. Let me put it another way. You marry that guy, you better do that unto the Lord. It really, and I'm divorced, and there's no judgment in the room. From me. I mean, from you guys, I can tell tons, but from me to anybody in the room, there's no judgment. But God has tried to stop a lot of people from making really bad relationship choices. He really has. And we're like, but this is what I want, man. This is my soulmate. That's a Beanie Baby. You know what I'm saying? We have all done it. We have all done it. And that's why Paul said, anything that you do, do it unto the Lord. So if you're going to be a slave, like you choose that, be a slave unto the Lord. If you're a slave owner, do that unto the Lord. If you're going to be a meat eater, be a meat eater unto the Lord. If you're a vegetarian, do that unto the Lord. You know, it's interesting. If you're going to be married unto the Lord. If you're going to be single unto the Lord. These are very tricky things he's saying. Do all things unto the Lord is so tricky. So tricky. Forgive me for using the meat eating thing, but it's really good. I'm going to eat meat unto the Lord, so that must mean as long as I thank Him for my hamburger, I've done it unto the Lord. Oh boy, start pulling the thread. Follow the thread. Follow the thread all the way back to before the creation of the animal. And find out how many things you need to do in your life experience, in your consciousness, to get right with God, to eat that hamburger unto the Lord. It's complicated. Is there anybody being offended? Has anyone been hurt along the way? Has anything been tortured along the way? Has anything been exploited along the way? It's complicated. It's hard to eat a carrot unto the Lord for the same reason. I mean, you can't eat a banana in America unto the Lord because someone has been whipped and forced into slavery to get you a banana or some grapes. It's tough. When Paul said do everything unto the Lord, it was the same thing as Jesus saying be perfect. That's a tall order too. Be perfect. Okay. I'm working on it. But it comes down to that. If you're going to be dumb, meaning by willing ignorance, knowing ignorance, you're going to go do that thing, well, you better do it under the auspices of doing it unto the Lord. So, if you're going to go sin, do it unto the Lord. Ah, that's really sketchy preaching, isn't it? If you're going to sin, glorify God when you do it. I am not the one who created the dichotomy in your walk with God. You did. Because God gave you all of the chicken exits you could possibly need. He is right there begging you not to make the choices you make, begging you not to do the things you do, but you do them anyway. He goes, well then do them unto me. What? What? How do you do that? I work at a porn shop. How do I do that unto the Lord? Well, you're probably not going to get 100% on that test. Where will you draw the line? Where will you have some morality? Where will you have some spiritual obedience if you work in a porn shop? Well, some guys in suits would say, once they set foot in there, there was no hope. Well, that's not true. There was just no hope for 100%. No hope for 100%. Because, since we're on the subject, at least one of those DVDs has someone who was forced to do what they're doing. Period. Game over. No justification whatsoever under the sun for pornography, period. I'm not a prude, but I don't like the thought of my children or your children or anyone's children living like animals. Period. But God is literally saying, if that's the job you take, and you know me, you need to struggle and find your way to do it unto me, or it will be worse for you. It's quite profound. Let me put it another way. I've never heard anyone say this before, and this might be the kind of thing that gets me into trouble when other people hear it. So I'll just tell you guys. People work in porn shops. They really do. They really do. Believe it or not, it happens. And you would be surprised how many of those people at some point love Jesus. You'd be surprised how many porn stars are born again. I can't tell you how many prostitutes I've known that have come to the Lord that have said to me, I was a Christian, and then I fell away, and then I did this. How many drug addicts? How many serial killers? I hate to break it, but Christians are everywhere. They're all over the place. Even in all the things that we think that the people that are different than us would never, that are in, but we would never be caught dead there. No, we're caught alive there. We are caught alive in such sinful, evil places every single minute of every day that God actually has to create a provision in the Bible for it. To say, well, if you're going to do that, you still are bound to serve me. So if you're going to be a whore, serve me. Wow. Did you just say, if you're going to be a prostitute, you still have to tithe? You betcha. I exactly said that. Boy, I go back to the breast milk theory on this. I haven't seen you all night, because I've been right here. You like your seat? Ouch! Well, I like your seat too, then. Breast milk. Every speck of breast milk you give your baby does something positive for them for their entire life. So, if you're not going to breastfeed them till they're 12, if you're not going to breastfeed them till they're old enough to climb in your lap to be breastfed, which is really when they say it's time to stop, whatever you can do is better than whatever is less than that. So if you can breastfeed them for a year, that's great. If you can breastfeed them for 9 months, that's better than 6. And 6 is better than 3. 3 is better than 1. A day is better than nothing. And I said that's the truth about the Bible. And we know it's the truth about eating well. We know it's the truth about exercise. We know it's the truth about getting some Bible in you. But now God's saying, obedience to Him. If you're not going to give Him 100%, He wants what He can get from you. So if you're going to go off and do whatever you're going to do, He still wants the rest of you. He wants something from you. Ain't He clever? He still gets his 10% from the whores. he understands that for every little bit of obedience you give him, it inspires that much more the next time. It is a hook of love that he has in us, that he says this. No matter what you're doing, if you could be cognizant of me, no matter what you're doing, if you can serve me somehow, no matter what you're doing, if you're doing all this horrible stuff, you can find one thing that you can do unto me, I can use that as a door to go through and come and rescue you one day. It's all about salvation and redemption. You know, it's not the Jewish God in heaven that wants our 10% from the whores. It's because he wants us. And every single thing. So the best you can do, you dirty, rotten whores, is give him 10% of that cash you're making. He can work with it. By the way, if there's any whores watching this and you want to be obedient to God and give me your 10%, I can work with it. Yeah, thank you. Wow. Work all night and that's what I get, an applause and an amen and a hallelujah.
Website to that so they can send it.
Oh, www.Paisley Yankolovich, Paisley V as in Victor, ICH.com.
There you go.
Right? The only reason it's funny is because it's true. I mean, that's the reality. Is I can tell jokes all night. This isn't a joke. I'm serious. I'll take your money, you dirty whores. All right. They love the prostitutes here because they give us their money. I could do this all night. It's a radical concept. Radical concept. But for every dollar that comes through this ministry, I can give one CD away. It's like giving away a Bible for every dollar. I've said that all along. So if you think about it, I could care less where that money came from. I don't care. Ransom money, blood money, I don't care. I don't care. Unmarked bills, please. But I don't care because I'm concerned about what I can do with it. Casinos. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I think God's the same way with our spiritual service. He's like, I get you're sinners. I get you're going to make these horrible choices. I get you're going to be whores, drugs, drug addicts, thieves, horrible, rotten, evil people in business, in lousy relationships, and jaywalkers. I know you're going to be those people. Is there any part of you that will work with me? Because I'm sneaky that way. And if I work with one part of you, another part of you might be inspired. No, it will be inspired. And if I get 1% of you, maybe next year I'll have 2%. And maybe it'll never be 100%. But maybe it'll be enough for you one day to accept me. Or maybe you've already accepted me and all I can get out of you in this life is 10% of your goodness and your service. But I'd rather feed you my Jesus breast milk as much as you'll let me. So I'll do anything to get you to do it, including saying, here's your damn husband, here's your horrible wife, here's your horrible job, here's your lousy career, here's all the crap you ordered. Now, I want to scare you and tell you that if you don't use all this crap you filled your life with unto me, I'll make your crap even crappier. Thus saith the Lord. Because sometimes plain old fear makes us say, okay, I'll go to church once a week. Okay, I'll give 10%. Okay, I'll stop doing this one thing that I know is wrong. This is the one thing I can stop. And he's like, all right, I can work with that. I can work with that. I can build your spiritual immune system because you're willing to have a little bit of that spiritual breast milk. Mixed signals. They're not mixed at all. They're just complicated. But he's saying the exact same thing. You're a sinner, man, and you are going to sin, and you're going to keep sinning, and damn it, I'm going to help you sin. I am going to bless you so you have the freedom to sin. I'm going to put you in an environment where your sin flourishes because you're going to find it anyway. So let's move this baby along, because I want to get to the point where you go, wait a minute, what's the catch? Well, the catch is, I'll pay for your sin again, but I'm going to charge you. The first time I paid for your sin was with Jesus. That was free. But if I have to pay for your sin a second time, now I'm going to charge you. I'm not giving you a choice. You have to serve me. I love this guy. I love the way he does business. Do you know, he scares me? This stuff is spooky. He is saying, you weren't happy with getting me for free. Now you're going to work for me. Interesting. I love preaching on tithing. I love it. Tithing specifically in Old and New Testament times. 10% of your gross income, by the way, before the government takes out 30% of it, goes to the temple or church. Me. Thank you for pointing. Goes to me. And if you're not giving somewhere, why not give to me? All right. Rewind, you can spell my name later. But seriously, but I love preaching on it and saying, why does it stop there? Why isn't it 10% of your time is spent at the temple or the church? 10% of your time is spent with the Lord. 2 hours and 40 minutes a day. That's about 3 nights a week we got you covered. 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's a lot. Well, I need to break it down. 10% of your time in the temple. 10% of the time in private time with the Lord. 20% of your life so far. 10% of your life in spiritual service. 30%. Well, wait a minute, we sleep. Sorry, that would be considered net time. And I'm talking about gross time. If I were God, I would exact that from people. Why not? Could it hurt? Well, where are we going to find time to play golf? You know? I mean, seriously, where are we going to be able to play golf? You know, it's like, wow, exactly. Hello. If you're spending that much time at church and that much time in prayer and that much time in spiritual service, wow, kind of hard to do all those other things we have all the time in the world to do. And I will tell you, every single human being that I know, and there's always one that's quick to say, watches 2 hours and 40 minutes of TV a day. Give me a break. Give me a break. What if God really put his foot down on that 10% thing? I love this sermon. I love the 10% sermon. I could live in 10% sermon land, my whole ministry, and never get tired of that feeling that comes over a room when people go, you know, oh man, that's a lot. That would really suck. Let me tell you something. If I said, you need to spend on average 24 minutes a day in church, 24 minutes a day in prayer, 24 minutes a day in spiritual service, and you can only watch TV for 24 minutes a day, Christianity would no longer be the most popular religion on the planet if God had tried to exact that from his people. Be like, are you nuts? We don't have time for this. Uh-oh. All you have is time. And who's God of your time? Who's the Lord of your time? Like I said, I could do this till Jesus comes back. But I'll stop. And I will end with this. We are a self-determined, self-devastating, mistake-making, time-wasting species. And I'm only talking about the people who call themselves Christians tonight. And we don't want to do what we know to do. And we want to do what we know we shouldn't do. And all I can say is anyone who's a songwriter knows that songwriting takes however long it takes. For me, it's very quick, but I know, for you mere mortals, it takes some time. Which means I have no attention span than you do, by the way. But seriously, songwriting takes time, and that duration of time from idea to playing it, to writing it, to perfecting it, and being happy with it, where you're all happy and you realize, wow, look at the time. I've played this song 30 times in a row, and I think I'll play it one more time. You know what I'm saying? There's a joy and euphoria and accomplishment that comes with a project birth in passion done well. There's a euphoria, a joy. And I can say that spending time at church, where you like it, by the way, not most churches, and spending time with the Lord, not in condemnation, but in worship and joy, maybe grabbing an instrument and singing or something, or dancing, or going out in nature and really praising God for something, and spending time in spiritual service, not something you hate, but something you care about, something you're passionate about. The time just goes by quickly. It's wonderful, and that euphoria that we feel that something birthed in passion and done well translates to our spiritual life, if we find a way for it to translate to our spiritual life. But it's God's desire. It's God's desire that we love our spiritual life. That we have to be pulled away from our spiritual life to do earthly things. Not the other way around. But we don't choose that. We choose earthly things, and we'll get around to Jesus when we feel like it. And to that he says, well, then you better do those earthly things in a fashion that glorifies my law. Because you've chosen the sin, you've chosen the judgment, and you've chosen the bondage of the law instead of receiving the grace that is Christ Jesus. But one way or the other, you got to serve somebody. One way or another. And it's going to be me, and you're either going to do it voluntarily, and you're going to have euphoria and joy and peace, and they're going to have to pull you away from your spiritual life, or it's going to be mandatory, and it's going to be work, and it's going to be drudgery. But one way or another, you will pick up that cross, you will carry it up the mountain, you will be crucified to it, and you will die, and you will be resurrected, and you will serve me. One way or another. No matter what, you will serve me. Every knee shall bow. Forgive me, but I got chills, man. I'm like, wow, I scared myself. I'm going to go home and repent for everything I thought about you tonight. So, seriously. I meet a lot of musicians, and I know that musicians are so blessed because we have something we can play, something we can do. You know, I could pick up the guitar or play the piano and worship the Lord. You could bang a drum. Even better, you could bang a gong.
I had to feel it.
What?
I had to feel it inside of me.
See? And I love what Ed does.